Hello, my dear ones. I'm grateful you're here with me today. And before I begin, let me say this clearly. I'm speaking as someone who once walked deep inside the occult world and later escaped it with my life and my soul intact. What I'm about to share is not gossip, not fear mongering, and not imagination. It's confession. It's truth earned through painful experience. When I was a witch, we studied emotional access points, especially through relationships, and girlfriends were often targeted indirectly. So listen carefully, because if you love your girlfriend, there are 3 things you must keep far away from her, and I'm going to tell you why from the mouth of someone who once used these doors herself. When I was still practicing witchcraft, we didn't always attack people directly. That was sloppy. We looked for influence, for proximity, for permission, sometimes unspoken. A girlfriend's environment tells you everything about her spiritual exposure. What she touches, listens to, and confides in can either protect her or leave her wide open. I remember sitting in circles where names were written down, not of the men we wanted to affect, but of the women close to them. Girlfriends carry emotional authority, and when they are compromised, the relationship becomes the doorway. That's why what I'm about to say may sound ordinary, but spiritually it is deadly serious. The first thing you must keep away from your girlfriend is certain: innocent. Objects that carry spiritual residue. When I say this, I'm not talking about horror props or obvious ritual tools. I'm talking about gifted items, charms, decorative symbols, and sentimental objects with unknown origins. In the occult world, we loved gifts because gifts bypass suspicion. A bracelet, a ring, a doll, a wall hanging. Once accepted, it created consent. I personally prepared items that were never meant to look dark. They were meant to look beautiful, meaningful, even loving. And once they entered a woman's space, the atmosphere changed slowly, quietly, without her realizing why she felt heavier over time. I remember one specific case where a girlfriend received a necklace from a friend who claimed it was for protection. That word, protection, was often used to mask control. That necklace was prayed over, spoken into, and linked intentionally. Over months, her mood shifted, her dreams darkened, and her relationship began to decay. No shouting demons, no movie scenes, just confusion, attraction to wrong choices, and emotional distance. That's how real witchcraft works. So if your girlfriend keeps objects she can't explain spiritually, objects tied to people with unclear intentions, you're not being jealous by questioning it. You're being wise. The second thing to keep away from your girlfriend is certain types of music and spoken content that glorify darkness while pretending to be empowerment. In witchcraft, sound is not entertainment. It is invocation. Frequencies, repetition, and words all matter. When we wanted to influence someone without direct contact, we relied on what they consumed daily. Songs about obsession, domination, sexual control, revenge, and divine feminine power were often used to soften resistance. Your girlfriend may say, "It's just music." But I promise you, we never saw it that way. We saw it as a ritual played on repeat. I used to chant over playlists before sharing them, knowing that the emotions stirred by the lyrics would open spiritual channels. When a woman constantly listens to content that feeds anger toward men, glorifies manipulation, or celebrates emotional independence without accountability, it subtly reshapes her spirit. She may become distant, suspicious, or suddenly dissatisfied without knowing why. The relationship suffers not because of you, but because something else is feeding her inner world. Protecting your girlfriend's ears is not control, it's love. What she hears daily eventually becomes what she believes. The third thing, and this one may shock you, is certain friendships that thrive on secrecy, gossip, and shared pain. In the occult world, covens often hid behind the word support group. We bonded women through shared trauma, shared resentment, and shared secrets. Those bonds felt empowering, but they were spiritually binding. If your girlfriend has a friend who constantly reinforces fear, distrust of men, or encourages secrecy from you, that is not harmless. That is a wedge. I've seen relationships destroyed not by spells, but by whispers disguised as advice. I remember being that friend once, the one who listened, nodded, and gently planted ideas. Are you sure he's good for you? You deserve more power. Men always do this. Each sentence sounds caring, but spiritually, it's a slow poison. When a girlfriend begins sharing intimate relationship details with the wrong ears, she gives those ears influence. In witchcraft, information is power. The more someone knows about your bond, the easier it is to weaken it. Privacy is protection, and not every listener deserves access to her heart. Now, let me be clear. I'm not saying isolate your girlfriend or control her world. Control was our tactic, not yours. What I'm saying is discernment matters. Love without discernment becomes vulnerability. When I left witchcraft, I realized how many men never knew why their relationships fell apart. They blamed themselves or each other, never realizing there were unseen pressures involved. Awareness changes everything. Once light enters, darkness loses its hiding place. And that's why I'm speaking now. As an ex-witch, my confession is this: we relied on ignorance more than power. We succeeded when people dismissed spiritual realities as superstition. If you truly care for your girlfriend, protect her space, her sound, and her inner circle, not with fear, but with truth and communication. Ask questions. Stay present. Pray if you believe. Love actively, not passively. In the next part, I'll tell you how these three things can be replaced with protections that strengthen love instead of weakening it, because removal alone is not enough. You must fill the space with something stronger. When those three doors were closed, objects, sound, and inner circle, we felt it immediately. I remember moments during rituals when nothing responded anymore. No emotional pull, no disturbance, no echo. That silence terrified us more than resistance. You see, witchcraft feeds on access, not force. When a girlfriend was spiritually grounded, emotionally supported, and mentally clear, she became unreachable. That's why replacing what you remove is essential. Empty spaces attract intrusion, but filled spaces repel it. When love becomes intentional, darkness has nowhere to attach. This is where true protection begins, not through fear, but through strengthening what already exists between you. The first replacement is intentional presence. In the occult world, absence created opportunity. Emotional distance was our greatest ally. When a man stopped listening, stopped asking, stopped engaging deeply, we noticed. But when he was present, when he knew her struggles, her joys, her thoughts, we struggled. Presence creates clarity, and clarity breaks confusion spells instantly. Sit with her. Talk without distractions. Be emotionally available. That kind of connection grounds a woman's spirit more powerfully than any ritual I ever performed. It's simple, but it's devastating to darkness. The second replacement is uplifting sound and spoken truth. Remember how I told you sound is invocation that works both ways. Words of affirmation, music that carries peace, faith based or life affirming messages build an inner environment that resists manipulation. I watched spells fail because a woman prayed or because she constantly heard words that reminded her of her worth without ego. When truth is repeated, lies cannot settle. Encourage content that strengthens her mind and heart, not content that feeds anger, suspicion, or obsession. What she listens to shapes what she tolerates. The third replacement is wise companionship. Every woman needs friends, but not all friends are safe. In witchcraft, we avoided women who had stable relationships, moral clarity, and accountability. They were immune to our influence. Encourage friendships that respect your relationship, that don't thrive on secrecy, and that promote growth instead of bitterness. A friend who honors her boundaries is a shield. A friend who constantly pulls her into drama is an opening. You don't need to accuse or attack. Discernment reveals everything over time. Let me tell you something personal. When I left the occult, the hardest thing wasn't abandoning rituals. It was rebuilding my inner world. I had to remove objects, sounds, and people, but then I had to replace them with truth, peace, and healthy love. That process healed me more than anything else. I watched women who were once targets become unshakable simply because they were loved well, and lived consciously. Darkness cannot survive where clarity lives. Witches panic when access is lost because there is nothing left to manipulate. No emotional hooks, no spiritual residue, no whispers to amplify. That panic you never see, but its effects are real. Relationships suddenly stabilize. Conflicts dissolve faster. Trust returns. That's not coincidence. That's protection in action. When a girlfriend feels safe, valued, and spiritually grounded, she doesn't need validation from dangerous sources. She becomes whole, and wholeness is untouchable. I'm confessing this because too many people underestimate the power of everyday choices. Witchcraft was never just about candles and chants. It was about environments. Change the environment and the power collapses. Your relationship is an environment. What you allow into it matters. What you tolerate shapes it. What you nurture strengthens it. Love is not passive, it is active defense. If you've noticed unexplained tension, sudden distance, or emotional confusion in your relationship, don't panic. Awareness is already victory. Start with conversation, not accusation. With understanding, not control. With love, not fear. The moment you bring light into a situation, darkness begins to retreat quietly. I no longer fear witchcraft because I understand its limits. Its greatest weakness is truth. And today, I've given you truth from the inside. Protect your girlfriend not by isolating her, but by strengthening her world. Keep harmful access away and replace it with presence, truth, and wise connection. That's how bonds last. Thank you for listening to my confession. If this opened your eyes, guard what you love with wisdom. And remember, love rooted in clarity is the strongest protection there is.